Hey guys, it's Jonathan with the Lone Star Living channel. Today I wanted to talk to you about your preps. So we're all familiar with the rice and beans, the canned foods, whether that be vegetables, meats, any type of freeze-dried or dehydrated foods, and we're all familiar with that, and we all have our plan in how to get prepped. But one of the things that I've been noticing that is lacking in people's preps is a morale booster. Something that picks up your spirit a little bit in this situation that you find yourself in. And I just imagine, this SHTF thing that's going on, and you've got your rice and your beans, and you're sitting there and you're like, man, I'm sick of rice and beans. I could use a little bit of a change. And what better change to have than being able to get up in the morning and make your fresh eggs and your dehydrated sausage and having a nice cup of coffee. So that's what I'm going to be talking about today. So let's get started. Okay, so coffee. Coffee is much more than just a caffeinated drink. Coffee is something we all look forward to drinking in the mornings. It is something that perks our day up. It helps us to get going and just lifts our spirits. And so this is something that you need to be adding to your preps. Now, when you're buying your coffee to store long term, you want to get whole bean, because whole bean actually lasts a lot longer than ground coffee. Ground coffee will work, but some of the flavor over time will break down and it won't taste as good as whole bean coffee. So now that being said, when you have your whole bean coffee, you're going to need a way to grind the coffee. So in this video, I'm going to show y'all how to do just that. So first you're going to need your whole bean coffee, and you just open that up, take a big whiff, and that smells amazing. Here, take a whiff. Oh yeah, doesn't that smell good? So then what you're going to need is a clean sock. I just pulled this out of the dryer so I know that it's clean. And what you'll do is you will take some of your beans and you'll pour it into this sock. Here, just like that. I'm making a little bit of a mess there, that's all right, because it doesn't really matter. It's all clean. And you will put your beans and any ones that you dropped down into the sock here. And then you're going to need a hammer. And then you're going to take this and you're going to smash it. Just kidding. While that would work, and this is a method called Cowboy Coffee. How it worked was cowboys or ranch hands would take their coffee and they would load it up in a sock. Hopefully it was clean, and they would grind it up with whatever they had, whether it be a hammer or a rock or whatever, and then they would put this, they would tie off a knot, and then they would put it in a pot of boiling water and boil it. And that would be how they made their coffee. So while that works, I'm going to show y'all another way that you can grind your coffee and make it. So like I said, while Cowboy Coffee works and it will get you that morale boost that you want with that nice cup of coffee, there are some other ways that you can prepare your coffee that are just maybe a little more civilized. Now, when all else fails, this will work. Using the hammer or a rock and a sock to smash that coffee down into grounds and boiling it in some water, that will work and will get you what you need. But what I have here is a manual burr grinder and a French press. So how this works is you take your burr grinder and you take this whatever that's called, crank, thank you. off, and you have this little opening here, and you'll put your beans inside of there. And once you do that, you will close it up and put your crank back on it, and then you will just crank it. And as you can hear, there's a little bit of grinding already. There's no coffee in here. So if you needed it to be a finer grind, which your coffee will come out in this little hopper here, and you can put this into your French press. But if you needed to do a finer grind or a more coarse grind, you can use this to adjust it. So once you get your coffee ground, you can put it into a French press. And a French press is a very old way of making pots of coffee. So what you do is you put your grounds in here, and you fill this with water, and you put the lid on top of it, just like that. So like that, with the plunger at the top. See? And you wait a set amount of time, depending on how much coffee you have in there and water, etc., etc. And once it's ready, you take this and you press it down. And what this plunger here does is it presses down the coffee grounds to where they're not in your actual coffee. So it's basically like a filtration system. So then you press it down, and once you get down, you do it very slowly, get it all the way down. Then what you're left with is just the coffee. And then you pour up your cup of coffee and enjoy. So while the French press and the burr grinder and the Cowboy Coffee with the sock and the hammer or rock will all work, there's other ways that you can make coffee without electricity and without propane. So whenever a SHTF event happens, there's a thing called a percolator, which I'll put in a picture right here. And what that does is it allows you to put it over a fire. You got your coffee in there and your water in there, and it boils. And so with the difference between that and the French presses, you actually heat the water up while the coffee is being made. So while the water is being heated, it's also going through the grounds and getting the nice coffee juices made. Which with the French press, you have to heat the water up first and then pour it in there and wait that set amount of time and then press it. So it's kind of a little bit longer process than a percolator. So, which, I mean, you can do ways to save time. You can be grinding your coffee while your water is being heated up, to where by the time you've got your coffee ground, your water's hot enough, and you just combine it, bada bing, bada boom, you're done, you got your coffee. So there's other ways to make coffee, but this is just something I wanted y'all to think about and keep in mind when you're putting together your preps. You know, we've all got this down to where we know what we want, we know how much we want, we know how we're gonna go about acquiring that. But just keep in mind that after a while, you're going to want something that will boost your morale. So keep in mind, whole bean coffee is the way to go when you're buying coffee for your preps. So if you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button. Also, if you wouldn't mind, I would ask that you share this information with your friends and any other people that you know that are interested in prepping. This is vital information that I think anybody can use, and so I'd ask that maybe you share it with your friends and family. And also, if you're new here, I ask that you subscribe to my channel. It really helps this channel out, and it's really appreciated. So as always, thank y'all for watching. Adios.